Hey, what's up? John Sonmez here from SimpleProgrammer.com, and I don't think I've actually done a live interview before. I don't think I've ever, aside from like over Skype or Google Hangouts. So I actually have live in the flesh Ben Sullins, who is who's a fellow YouTuber, a fellow Pluralsight author, a fellow used to be ex-developer, I guess we'll say, entrepreneur, and who currently runs a business that is focused on, and I talk about this all the time about niching down, but he's niched down to, get this, Tesla, to people that are interested in Tesla and data geeks. So that intersection of people that are interested in both of those things. So I thought it'd be interesting. Ben and I just went for a 5-mile run here in San Diego in Ocean Beach, and thought we'd record I thought it'd be interesting to talk to Ben and have him tell his story a little bit. So.
Cool. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. And I don't know if what I was doing could be considered running, but you know, we got 5 miles in for sure. So
we did.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So my channel, I guess, it's called Teslanomics.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, the idea is to look at the economics, which are kind of go hand in hand with data, about Tesla.
Right.
Whether that's helping people understand the cost of ownership, or something like comparing, you know, it to a different electric vehicle or a high-end car, or even looking at like the crazy stuff that the company's doing with boring tunnels or stuff like that. So.
And I really like this idea because I think Tesla people get really obsessed about. I mean, I don't even own a Tesla, but I have to read all the news that comes out on Tesla stuff because it's something that's really, really interesting to people, especially Elon himself, just with everything that he's doing. And so, like, to dig into that data, and I've gone there. I've gone to the Tesla site because I've thought. I mean, I've got a 13-year-old Toyota Corolla, but I've gone through and run all the numbers. And
I'm gonna convince you to buy one day. Watch.
I was like, I could buy this cash. And I'm like, no, not gonna do
bad
it.
idea.
So,
people, and I get, you know, called out all the time anytime I'm wrong, but the tiniest detail because of that, because you're right. It's almost like Android users.
Right.
Like, people are just obsessed with every little aspect of it, and people have also like wild, fanciful ideas about how things work.
Right.
And so there's all kinds of, you know, people that are really into science and space, and, you know, we just, it's fun because it's Elon and everything he does instill a sense of like that dreamer mentality that, you know, not a lot of other companies really do, right? So I think they've captured people's imaginations, which is why they have such a strong following, and you know, why people like me have a voice that people want to listen to. So
cool.
Yeah.
So let's start backwards a little bit and talk about how you got here, right? Because you were a software developer.
Yep.
And then what? And then you ended up working for Pluralsight. So tell me a little bit about kind of your past history, where you started off, and.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll start at the very beginning and fast forward to Pluralsight.
There we go. Yeah.
So I was just a tech geek when I was a kid.
Okay.
I loved computers, and I would, you know, I was the 15-year-old kid that was building my own computers.
Yeah.
Back when you did that kind of a thing, right?
Right. Yeah.
Nowadays, I guess gamers do it now, but.
You'd be a lot of people on this channel.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I get yelled at when I don't build my own computer. So.
I'm so lazy now. I mean, I just go buy it. I'm like, it works great, you know.
Yeah.
But that's where I started, right? I was just a geek, and I love technology, and that led to me a job at the help desk at MCI.
Okay.
The old phone company back when they were around. And at MCI at the help desk, what that introduced me to was the whole world of corporate technology.
Right.
And we're talking like late 90s. Yeah. Right. So the internet was still very new. Okay. Websites were kind of new.
Yeah.
And at the help desk, I got to do everything from like patch phones together to actually make software. And at those days, it was like little macros in Excel and VBA, and we're talking like Excel 97.
Nice.
You know, so I mean, but things that had a very tangible impact to our business. So at 17 years old, I got introduced to, at the time, a very high-tech company.
Yeah.
Right. Full-on corporate America, and because in that role, I got to see and touch everything. I found my niche in data. Right. And I basically was just the Excel guru.
Okay.
And I would find all kinds of ways to optimize our call center and you know, save time and money and all this stuff. And so that really ignited a passion in me of, like, if you can understand how data works and how you can use data to affects some business outcome,
right?
Whatever that may be, in any department, everywhere there's an opportunity, then you can be of value. And so I did nothing but focus on that for the next 17 years.
Okay.
And
wow.
and I had lots of opportunities to go into real estate or chase money here or there, but I stuck with my passion and kind of what I was good at. So that was how I kind of like found data.
Data. Okay. Yeah.
Then, which at the time, by the way, in order to, like, let's say, build a website that had a chart on it, you had to be a web developer too.
Right.
And you had to know how to set up a web server.
Yeah.
So back in those days, it wasn't like today where I can just go find a website and click a couple buttons and bam, it's awesome.
No.
You had to know how to do every part of it. So that's what actually led me to actually becoming a developer.
Okay.
Was that my main focus was making use of data for businesses.
Yeah.
But in order to do that, I had to build websites, I had to set up servers, I had to do everything, right?
Right.
Eventually, and now the tools are so, focused in that you can kind of just specialize in that area and like just be a data geek and never even know how to make a website.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Just click a couple buttons and boom, there's a website. So, but back then it wasn't like that. So I went into kind of data science, I guess we would call it now.
Okay. Yeah.
But the idea was always the same: making use of data. Fast forward all the way to where I joined Pluralsight. 17 years later or something. They didn't have a data science team when I started.
Right. Okay.
And so just before Pluralsight, I was at Mozilla. So I did a lot of consulting over the years, a lot of big companies, and I was at Mozilla full time, which was great. They let me work from home and all this. I started making Pluralsight courses for them on data technologies.
Right.
And then I met up with Aaron, their CEO. And we got to talking, and they had a severe lack of data expertise in the company.
And in fact, now I think I remember going. Was it at the author retreat or something, like you did a presentation showing what their data could look like, and then they basically. I'm stealing the story, but now it's clicking. Like
it was pretty serendipitous. At the author summit, 2013 maybe, something like that. They had 5-minute lightning talks.
Yeah.
And someone was poking me to go get up there and give a talk on data.
Yeah.
Because being the data guy, I was severely disappointed in, as an author, the data I had.
Right, exactly.
And I felt like, look, if I knew more about, let's say, retention rates on my courses, I could make better courses.
Right, exactly.
So in the back of the room, while other people are giving their lightning talks, I was making this little dashboard.
Yeah.
Which simply, it was like very basic. It was just showing you like which of your courses are the most popular.
Right.
How are they trending? How do they compare to other courses in the same category?
Right.
Very basic stuff. But at the time, it was like no one had any data. No one had ever done it that way or molded it that way. I went up and gave a 5-minute lightning talk. And mostly I was complaining about how bad it sucked.
Right, exactly.
And then I showed it, and people were just like, "Oh my God!" They're like standing ovation. They're like, "Oh, give me that! Give me!" Yeah. And Aaron, the CEO, and a few of the other folks and C-level folks were in the room, and they were just like, "Yeah, let's talk." And actually, a funny story was the first thing I told Aaron. I said, "There's absolutely no way I'm moving to Utah. Sorry, forget it, man." And then second off, as an analyst, I'm sorry, but your company's not interesting enough.
Yeah,
right?
Okay,
I'm working with at Mozilla, where we have 500 million users across the world, multiple petabytes in our data warehouse. I mean, I'm doing and then we have tons of statisticians. We're doing really interesting work. So I'm just I'm sorry. It's just being an analyst was not interesting enough.
Right, exactly.
And so Aaron kind of came back and said, well, what would be interesting? I want to work with you. Let's figure out what would be interesting. And so for me, the opportunity that I saw that I wanted to pursue was to build out the data science practice at the company.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm talking whole scale, we need to make an investment in data, and that investment needs to be substantial because we want to be a data-driven company.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
We don't want just a couple of geeks running some numbers for marketing or sales or whatever.
Right.
We want a separate business unit that's dedicated to data. We want all the software, enterprise, everything that goes along with it.
Right, okay.
And so me and Aaron tooled with this idea for a few weeks, and he loved it and I loved it. I went out to Utah, presented it to at the time the executive team and a couple of the board members.
Yep.
And a couple weeks later, I was an employee.
Yeah. Nice.
I was there for a couple years and saw the company grow from, 50 employees to 500.
and let me ask you a question. You don't have to give me a number here.
Okay.
But how much more valuable, how much of a higher pay do you get when you create your own job like that versus you apply for a job? Because you basically create your job, right? Because you basically like, we're like, look at this cool stuff, you know, and they are like, oh, we got to get you, right? We don't even have a job. We're going to make a job for you. Right. So how does that compare to other jobs you've gotten in your career?
Yeah, I mean, certainly it was a lot more in terms of the pay. But I would say the bigger thing for me wasn't necessarily the pay, because I was already doing pretty well. You know, I was a senior data architect at Mozilla.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean?
So you're doing pretty good,
you know, and I have 17 years experience, like. But so the pay, I mean, it was at least a 15 to 20% bump.
Okay, yeah.
But in terms of the benefits, that was really the big draw, was the autonomy that I got.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it was the direct connection, the direct line to the CEO and the CFO, the guys that ran the company, and the rest of the executive team, and having the autonomy to be like, look, you're our guy that we want to do this. Right. You just tell us what you're going to do. Right. Like, don't ask us if it's okay. Just do it. Do it. Yeah. And then just tell us why you did it. Right. And how much it's going to cost and all that. I mean, I can recall a time when I was sitting in the room with the CFO, and I was trying to be very, I don't know what the right word is, frugal, or not frugal, but prudent maybe, with how we're spending money, especially with the CFO, right? And we're sitting there talking about it, and I go, oh, well, you know, if we could do this, we could kind of start off with a minimum investment of maybe 50, 60,000 on this thing, and then if we do decide to go full bore with it, then we would be able to upgrade, and we'd be able to transfer some of that money over. Right. So we would maybe lose about 25% of our initial investment, but we wouldn't have to go spend 250 grand up front. Right. And the CEO comes into the room, and we have a 5-minute conversation, and he looks at me and he kind of says, well, but is this the right thing to do? Is this the right platform to go with? Right. And I say, absolutely. Like, I've been, yes, I can say 100% certainty, this is the best thing out there, and it will grow with us for the next, you know, X number of years. And so, yes, absolutely. And he said, well, then why would we lose 25% of our investment?
Just spend the money. Yeah.
Just do it.
Write the check. Yeah.
And from that, and so that, that freedom and that trust that they instilled in me, that was really what made it probably the greatest job I ever had in my corporate life. Right. Yeah. You know, so the money was good, benefits, everything. Obviously, you know, I was hired as the VP of data, and then I grew to become the chief data officer. So yeah, at that level, you're getting paid quite a bit, right? But that's not really your motivation. Right. Yeah. You're almost like an entrepreneur inside the company. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we started an office here in San Diego just for me to build a team. Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. I didn't realize that. Now we have a 15,000 square foot office with 20, 30 people there, including a software development team that they started here after they saw basically the talent pool that we had from the data side. Right. You know, if you look, it's just basic math here. In Utah, where they're based, the whole state has as many people as San Diego does. Oh wow, I didn't even realize that. Right. That's crazy. So if you're looking to grow and expand your software group, you look at, you know, the strategy we went with was look at the places we're already in and we already have a presence in, and look at those kind of things like cost of living, quality of life, like what are the salaries, and then the talent base. Right. And so it's not hard to get people to move to San Diego, right? Like that's a pretty easy sell. Yeah. And there's already just as many people as there are in the entire state of Utah. So that made a lot of sense. So now there's, I mean, I don't even know now. I've been gone for over a year, but there's at least 2 software development teams here in San Diego. Yeah. All from that initial 5-minute lightning talk. Right. You know, that sparked that whole thing. So that begs the question then. Why, like, what are you doing? Why would you give up all that to go make pennies on YouTube, like, and start over with your, but like, what would drive a person to leave that lucrative, you know, pay? And, you know, it wasn't, you know, just 2 years of my life that got me to that moment, right? It was the previous 17 that led up to that. And so I felt like I had done I kind of paid my dues in corporate America. Yeah. And I mean, I'll forever be grateful to Aaron and Keith and Fritz and Greg and all the guys that gave me that opportunity to Pluralsight, because it truly was probably the joy of my entire career. Right. But there's nothing like that freedom of doing it on your own. Exactly. And by the time I left, I feel like my strength actually is building things.
Right, yeah.
It's not necessarily being a C-level person at a really big company. In fact, I would argue that the role that I was in, by the time I left, had definitely outgrown me.
Right.
Like, I was not actually qualified for that job anymore.
Okay.
Right? Now, I could have fought and dug my heels in and kept it.
Sure, yeah.
But that just wasn't me. Like, I would rather say, look, I spent 2 years here. I had a team of, I don't know, 20-something people, 3 different teams spread out across the country.
Right.
I had helped the company grow from very small or an SMB to now a really large, successful organization. Like, that's where actually my sweet spot was.
Right.
And I felt like, you know, it was time for me to go. It was time, first off, for me to kind of make that leap,
right.
As you have,
yeah, exactly.
and actually follow kind of in your footsteps in some ways, to do that on my own and to feel what that's like.
Yep.
But, you know, at the same time, I like, nowadays, I mean, I couldn't imagine going back to a corporate job.
Right.
But if I did, I would either want to be at a startup where I have significant influence, like I did at Pluralsight.
Exactly, yeah.
Or I'm just going to be the guy that turns the wheel, right? I'm just going to come in, do my work, and go home and not
right.
think about it at all.
Yeah.
Right? So those are the kind of the two things. And so Pluralsight had grown, or outgrown me, or
right.
that role certainly had. And yeah, it was just time for me, you know, I wanted that freedom to see what it tastes like. And I had done well enough as an author there that, you know, I could fortunately, you know, had enough kind of security to make that leap.
Yeah.
I mean, it still wasn't easy. I was still nervous as hell.
Of course, yeah.
And,
like,
and it was
I'm
super
gonna get
scary.
Health insurance and yeah, all that.
Yeah, health insurance was a big one, right?
Yeah.
I had actually, I mean, just to talk about what it feels like, at the time I left, it was April of 2016.
Yeah.
My son was 9 months old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just bought a car that cost $1,200 a month.
Yeah.
I had made all the wrong decisions, right?
Right. Yeah. Not exactly setting yourself up.
No.
For the, yeah.
No. I wanted to become an entrepreneur after loading on huge expenses.
Yeah.
Not to mention, yeah, $1,000 a month for healthcare, which is insane. So, yeah, I'd basically done everything wrong, but felt like there was enough opportunity out there, and then I had been, you know, I had been building up my skills and was confident enough in them
yeah.
that if it all really fell apart, I could go back to the same life I had.
Yeah.
You know, it really wouldn't be that bad.
That's why I tell people all the time, like, you know, not that you should just like take a leap necessarily, like, without thinking it through and making rash decisions, but a lot of entrepreneurs that I talk to that are actually doing okay, I'm like, well, just quit your job and then like try this full time, and if it doesn't work out, you could go back. Like,
yeah.
I mean, once you're successful, you're
yeah.
successful.
And a good company, you know, and it's hard to be general about it, but tech companies, I would say that I'm familiar with, encourage this.
Right.
A lot
yeah.
of them do, where like I know guys that, you know, worked at Apple for 12 years,
yeah.
wanted to start their own business, didn't actually quit their job at Apple,
right.
but they got a sabbatical. They said, look, I'm going to go,
yeah.
I'm going to take a year,
yeah.
and I'm going to try to build this business, and if it doesn't work out, I'll come back.
Right.
And if
yeah.
it does, then thank you for everything, and, you know, I'll invite you guys to a party sometime or something, right? And especially in Silicon Valley and in tech, I mean, the name of the game is talent up
right,
there.
Exactly.
Right. This is
yeah.
why benefits and stuff are so outrageous at places like Google and Facebook. So it's not unreasonable for a company to allow somebody to do that. Now,
right.
again, there's probably companies out there where they'd be like, "Are you kidding me? Get out of here! Like, you're fired, right?" But I would say that yeah, if you're confident in your skills, and especially if you're a developer,
yeah.
I mean, it's one thing if you're in management,
right? Yeah.
Because I would say management is like less transferable.
Right.
You know, unless you're super high level management and you have, you know, big business success. But if you're like a great programmer in whatever field or language,
yeah.
you're hireable.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, you can take 6 months, try out your thing, as long as you know, whatever. And I'm sure you have ways on how to manage that and make that doable.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you can totally do it and get a job without any. In fact, I've quit many jobs without a plan,
right.
just because I said, this is stupid. I'm not gonna. This is too stressful. It's not worth my time.
Right. And you know your value.
Yeah.
You know you could, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially nowadays with contractors and all this kind of thing. I mean,
yeah.
people can make a really good living and really call their own, or kind of write their own check, as they would say.
Yeah, yeah. I think part of it too is once you have built up enough reputation, you have that level of not everyone can just like do that. I mean, but that's what
a few years in, Yeah,
exactly.
You
then
get a few years under your belt, some experience. You make a lot of good connections.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, I'm sure and I'm sure you as well. I could probably make a phone call right now and get a job as a developer back at some company. Like, not that we would do that, but those connections last a long time. So yeah. If you're very early in your career, I would say that's probably harder.
Yeah.
But even then, there's tons of freelancing options and things like that if you just need to make money.
Yeah.
There's lots of ways to use those talents. So. And I guess they will decay over time, but you can sharpen them pretty quickly. Plurals like horses, etc.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So tell me what life is like now. So what do you do now? What is your because it's been a year. It's been a little bit over a year.
A little bit over a year.
Yeah.
It's less stressful now, or at least I have been able to learn how to deal with that a little bit.
Yeah.
My week is split between, I kind of have two jobs. So I still make online courses now for LinkedIn Learning.
Yeah.
And same kind of deal, data science stuff. So I have that going. Now I go up to their studio to record.
Yeah.
So I kind of prep for 2 or 3 months. Go up there, record 3 to 4 courses in a week.
Okay.
And then I'm done. I take a week or 2 off, and then I'm back on the grind for that. So, I'm prepping those a couple days a week. I'm working on my next set of courses.
Yeah.
And then other than that, I'm making YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And YouTube is a constant grind.
Exactly.
But the feedback loop is so instant that I love it.
Yeah.
So now I have a live show on Monday where I talk about Tesla news.
Okay.
So, which is, I do it live because I tried to do it not live, but things change so fast that it's impossible.
Yeah.
Right? It's like a week later my video comes out and no one cares because it's old news already.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah.
Especially a company like Tesla, which changes things, I mean, every other week it seems.
Yeah.
So I have a live show on Monday, so I have to prep Monday morning, get ready for the live show, set that up, which is a whole operation of itself. Then on Monday afternoon, I try to record my video, which then is posted the following Thursday.
Yeah.
And then I have to coordinate with my editor and my copywriter to get that week's video going.
Okay, right.
So Mondays are pretty much all YouTube. Tuesdays, there's usually a little bit of spillover of YouTube. I haven't quite perfected it.
Yeah.
I take a lot of your advice in terms of processes.
Yeah.
And trying to get those things, and maybe hiring out little things where I can.
Okay.
So Mondays all YouTube. In an ideal world, Tuesday and Wednesday would be Lynda courses, LinkedIn Learning courses.
Yeah.
Thursday is family day. I take Thursday off.
Okay, cool.
We go to the zoo. Just forget it. Just
entrepreneur perk.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Yeah, that's good.
Friday, me and my wife have a podcast we do, so it's podcast day.
Okay, yeah.
And then Saturday and Sunday, kind of daddy duty and honey-do list, that kind of thing. So hanging with the family and all that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You got a good system in place. That's what's.
And I try to stick. Like I've tried a dozen different ways, but I try to stick to that theme on that day.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
like Monday, if there's like something that comes up with the LinkedIn Learning course, I ignore it completely.
Yep.
I do not respond to those emails. I do not pay attention. Whatever.
Yep.
And then Tuesday through Sunday, if I get a comment on YouTube or somebody emails me about YouTube, I do not respond.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
I try to focus that so I can be more productive. I do the tomato timer, whatever it's called.
Yeah, Pomodoro.
I do that for a lot of my my tasks.
Okay, good. Yeah. Perfect. That's cool.
Yeah, and I try to meditate every day too, which doesn't always happen, but
yeah, I've tried to pick it up, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Someday I'll get it. I've got like a goal to do like a TM, a transcendental meditation course. Like,
oh wow. Okay.
I don't know. We'll see. Because
you'll have to
Arnold
let me know.
Schwarzenegger recommended it. A couple of people. It seems a little bit hokey to me, but I'll try it out.
You need to do Wim Hof.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I have a buddy doing it now, and he takes like ice baths all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm blown away.
I read a good book about him. Someone that was actually going through his program called. It was like the perfect title for a book for me. It was like it's called "What Doesn't Kill You." As soon as I saw that, I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm buying that book." I don't even know what this book is about. I'm buying this book, and it happened to be Wim Hof. So
yeah, fantastic.
All right, Ben. Well, thanks. Why don't you let people know where they can find you to find out more about either the Tesla stuff or the data stuff. I think this audience, my audience, will be interested in both of those things.
So you can find me on YouTube at Teslanomics. If you just search for that, that's the name of my channel. Also, Teslanomics.co is the website where I also have all the videos and other stuff like that. And then I also, the courses are at LinkedIn Learning and Pluralsight. I have 13 courses with Pluralsight and about 10 with LinkedIn Learning. So if you go search for my name on either one of those platforms, you'll find me, see what I'm talking about. In fact, just yesterday, a new LinkedIn Learning course came out, which was Apache Kafka Essentials.
Oh, cool.
So
okay, yeah.
if you have developers in the big data space, they'll know what that is, and you can go check that out. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll have to do some videos on big data, because I get questions in the data space, and I don't know much in the data space. Like I used chart.fx way back in the day when you actually did have to program to actually make a damn pie chart, right? But yeah, okay, awesome. We'll definitely check Ben out, and we'll put links and stuff all so they can check you out. But yeah, it's kind of cool to have a local here. So yeah,
cool.
All right, Ben.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
Take care.